Good evening. We are on time. Clock.
You're looking at me like it's my fault that we're never on
No,
time.
I'm just saying it. We're actually totally on time right now. No computer problems, no kid problems.
There's always.
Good evening, Tucson.
Hey, Adnan.
Yeah, Korea, DMZ. Thailand. How's the balut? Cypress. Local. North Dakota. PA. Wisconsin. Well, you guys are on the news like crazy today, huh? Over this last week.
Are they still deliberating?
Yeah, it's the second day. They went for their
Yeah,
call for another
tomorrow's
mistrial.
third, right?
Mistrial with prejudice.
Oh, they put in for that?
Yeah, and he deserves it. Kissimmee, Florida.
I have not been able to follow too much of the story because I have been in JFK editing
Yeah, tell me about
it. It's like a prison.
I've watched it because, again, being forensics and testifying like I have nearly 200 times I've testified, I have never seen a judge go after a prosecutor like that. And I have testified in front of that judge before. So to see that, that's just unbelievable. One of my first homicides that I did in Milwaukee was with him. Louisiana.
You did not just say it like that.
Yes, I know. I'm a Yankee.
How is
Round
it?
Rock.
How wasn't the northern people say New Orleans? Say New Orleans.
Mhm.
They say
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay, guys, we're gonna kick it off here. If you have a question, you can put it in
Brandon
the chat.
from Santan. Hey, Brandon.
Are you done? So that
Well,
I can
no,
go?
this is Brandon's Santan Tactical is a company that I work with, and I'm excited to see that he's here. We're going to be testing one of his guns soon. Ooh, Connecticut behind the lines. Outside of New Orleans. More Wisconsinites.
I really don't think that everybody wants to sit here for the next
I know.
hour and watch
I
you
just
talk
I just
about where
love seeing where
everybody's from.
everybody's
So are
from.
you ready to zip
Yes,
it so
I'm
that I
ready.
can kick this off? Because I'm sure everybody's ready to, stop listening to you talk
Okay.
like you're Rain Man over here and
Carry
go
him
over
low.
the entire. If you cut me off one more time, I swear to God, Christopher, I'm going to use one of these guns on you, and they're going to see salt battery played out here after 21 years. Thank you for joining us. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat line. We'll be going through it and pulling questions all over the place. I'll be rolling it back up to the top as lots of questions I'm sure will be coming in. If you guys would like to donate tonight, you can do that by clicking the $sign. Google does take 30% of your donations, which is quite a bit. So we encourage you to use our preferred method, which is DonorBox, and that is on smallarmsolutions.com. That link is very easily accessible to use. I'll also put it in the chat line in here. You can just put your question into the notes section and I'll get an email, and it's the same thing. You'll get priority over all the other questions coming in tonight. Or if you would just like to donate to us because you love SAS, we would certainly appreciate it. Donations have been horribly down lately. I know everybody is, feeling the pressure of 2021 financially, and we certainly are over here. But your money helps us keep making the videos that we make, and we appreciate you and thank you for coming. The first one up tonight is from Manuel. He says, I am debating sending my A2 front sights to add code to be cut down to a low profile configuration in reparkerized. What are your thoughts? Am I giving up anything by doing this? And should I proceed? And can I toss the handguard cap when reassembling?
Well, the handguard cap it's there as a spacer, but if the person who's drilling and pinning it knows what they're doing, they know that they have to have a little bit of a feeler gauge in there before they drill and pin it. For as far as if it's already drilled and pinned, I'd leave it alone. But if not, certainly go ahead. I guess it just depends on what you're trying to do. If you don't want the front sight base on there, you're good to go by removing it. Just make sure that when you put it back, that it's proper and that it's not going to come loose on you, or that it's not going to be canted.
I assure you guys, I'm not going to hurt him. I do love him. He does drive me nuts, though. Oh yeah, when all those years ago when you broke your back, he loved to tell people that I did it to him.
Yeah, it's true. You guys really think I really broke my back? I was that stupid to fall off of a ladder.
That's so mean. We'd get into an elevator at random and he would tell people, I promise next time I won't say no. I won't talk back. Just don't hurt me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're evil. John on Donor Box. Thank you, John. Chris, I'm curious as to your thoughts on the KE Arms KP15 polymer lower. Do you think polymer has evolved enough to handle the stress? And would you own one, or would you stay away from them?
I have yet had the opportunity to test one. I talked to my buddy over at Brownells, and they hadn't had any in stock to get me any. They tried the clamshell. Colt messed around with the clamshell. Many years ago. It didn't work. Polymer lower receivers, just the receivers. I don't think they really evolved until American Tactical came out with the Omni Hybrid, where they were able to use a good durable polymer and the inserts, so you could actually torque down and everything on it. But with that saying, as far as what would Stoner do, I don't know if that's the route he would have gone. He was all for using new materials, and in a lot of cases, again, I haven't had access to that lower yet, or that complete lower yet. For the most part, when you look at polymers, they don't weigh all that much less than aluminum does. So myself personally, I think I would go for a complete lower receiver, including a stock like that. That's not a route which I would go. As much as I was involved with some of the work that was done with American Tactical with their Omni Hybrid, which is an excellent one. I have to be honest that there's not that much of a difference in weight between the two, and there's no question that the aluminum is going to be stronger than any polymer that's out there. And not to mention the fact that you're going to have the ability to change out stocks and everything. So to each his own. Is everybody has asked me so many times, what would Stoner do? Again, you'll hear Stoner say he was always into newer materials, which certainly was true. I believe Stoner, if he would have done anything, would have been back into his 308. I don't believe he would have been into the 5.56. Definitely, he would have gone with the chrome carrier like they did. But also, don't think he would have gone that thin with the barrel for a combat rifle. What would Stoner rifle do? I think is more of a boutique rifle. I don't think of it as a combat rifle. A barrel that thin, it would overheat. In a heartbeat. Is an assault rifle role. But I think it's more of a, it certainly is a neat rifle, I'm sure.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
He says the professor and the missus. And my entire life boils down to just being your wife.
You guys know she runs it here.
Oh, I think they know that I run it, considering I just said I was going to use one of these guns on you. That's great. John on Donor Box. Thank you, John. Can you explain how dwell time differs between the AR-15 20-inch rifle gas, 16-inch mid-length gas, and 14.5-inch gas, carbine gas systems?
Well, basically, your dwell time is the amount of time the system is pressurized. before you unlock. Now, the longer the distance between the gas port to the muzzle, the more dwell time that you have. Unfortunately, the shorter the time that you have, the larger gas port you have. The larger gas port means you're going to be driving everything back faster. So anything that mechanical that would increase that dwell time, whether it be LMT's cam track, for instance, for the shorter barrels, or whether it be sometimes a heavier buffer. The more dwell time that you have, the easier extraction is going to be and the more reliable. When you talk about having the shorter barrels, the whole system's operating faster. So when the bolt's unlocking, the cartridge case is operated. It's still against the chambers. You still have pressure in there. So when the extractor tries to rip it out of the chamber, it's still expanded. So the extractor has to work that much harder, and on extraction. Now, a newer rifle, that's not as much of a problem for. But as you have gas port erosion and if things start running faster, then it becomes a problem. And eventually, it can be as much of a problem as you're getting so much gas in there that the cartridge case remains in the chamber and the extractor rips it right off, rips the rim right off. So generally, but again, that happens mostly with short barrel rifles, with more with more rounds through them, where you're getting more gas port erosion, you're getting more gas in there. The longer rifles, you have a proper dwell time, you have a proper time for as far as the what your peak is, and you also have a proper amount of time from the gas port forward. So it's the easiest on extraction using the other propellants. But again, the lower you get in barrel length, the more that increases. You shorten the gas tube up. You have higher pressures there to begin with. You're looking at almost double the port pressure on a gas on a excuse me, on a carbine length gas system versus a rifle length gas system.
Do you know anyone that's doing XM1 77E2 uppers or complete rifles?
Brownells will bring them back. Like I said, we're in a time right now where the manufacturers who do all the forgings, they're not going to spend the time doing relatively few of these retros when they can make all their money selling the current production M16A2 M4 type. Be patient. You will see the retro guns come back. But like I said, right now the hardest thing is getting forgings from these companies. They're dedicating their time to building M16A2 forgings. For as far as who else is producing them, I think Brownells was the only one who really did a lot of commercial stuff. There was another retro place that was doing some of them. I don't know the quality. I do know the quality of the Brownells was good. Um, and you do still have occasionally barrels, which are 11 and a half or whatever, where they're doing the drill and pin flash suppressors. But be patient. The stuff will come back.
Thank you. The Dumb Collector just joined our Patreon. We appreciate that.
Who's?
He's called the Dumb
Oh,
Gun Collector. Right now on Patreon, all 5 parts of the JFK documentary that we made are available. If you are at the $10 level, you get to unlock all of those videos. I decided to do kind of like Netflix days where, you kind of want all of it right now. You don't want to have to wait. And it's a great way to support the channel. That was 6 months of a lot of work on both of our sides. He definitely has his portion of the work, and then I have my portion of the work, and we kind of pass it back and forth to
yeah.
each other. And I think both of us,
Massive undertaking.
it's probably why I'm so absolutely exhausted, because we just finished the 5th part yesterday, and the editing of it was just an absolute nightmare.
And this is certainly why you haven't seen videos, anything else coming up. Literally, this has been
grueling
yeah.
to try to get it done. But if you join Patreon, you get to unlock all 5 parts. Otherwise, part 1 will air on Saturday, the 20th. So, and then the next one, I believe, is going to be on Tuesday. And then you will have a video that's not JFK related on Thanksgiving. And then you'll have the 3rd part next weekend. So it's going to take you a couple weeks to get all the parts will be released. Otherwise, you can unlock them all through Patreon. But there's a lot of conflicting information over the change to the A2 profile barrel over the original A1 profile. I thought it was solely for accuracy.
Oh no. reason I'm hesitant to answer your question is one of the first videos that we're going to be doing when we get back at it is a video on the M16A2, where we're going to be addressing that specifically. Not only am I going to be addressing that, Gene Stoner himself is going to be addressing that in an interview that was done in 1990, 89 or 1991, at that time period in there. The That profile was absolutely useless. It was done with the theory that that extra strength in there was going to be to help when paratroopers would land on the ground and they would hit the barrels and the barrels wouldn't bend. And that wasn't really the case. When barrels would bend was when people would use them to open up, ammo crates and things along those lines. It did absolutely nothing for accuracy. Um, quite frankly, there was really no real reason for it. It just added some weight. It did not improve accuracy at all. Um, there were several things that were done on the M16A2 that did not increase any performance over the M16A1. And Stoner was vastly against that additional weight because it doesn't offer you anything. It's not like the SOCOM barrel where you have a fully heavy barrel all the way through, which actually does something. This does nothing to increase durability or anything because the area where the barrels is going to fail is going to be right behind where the gas block is, behind it. That's the exact same width as diameter as the M16A1, so it's not going to give you anything. Uh, so no, it didn't do anything. It just added extra weight to it that didn't help.
With dwell time, wasn't the strategy in the 90s being wrapping the gas tube in the barrel? Seemed insane to me, but does it work?
It The concept worked, but when you had the bends all the way around, it weakened the gas tube. So when the gas tube would get hot, that would cause additional issues and it would warp. That was the reason for it. It was to give more time. Those of you who are familiar with the Osprey was an external piston conversion. If you look at the way they did the gas chamber, it was ovaled. It wasn't a cylinder, but it was ovaled out, more volume, and the increase in volume there was also an attempt uh, to increase the dwell time by having more. And one of the ways that LMT did that was they, instead of having all the gas dumped directly down into the carrier, they had two basically vent holes that made it go more evenly around. There has been some ways over the years where they've tried to do that.
Thank you, Craig. I was just checking to see if you had a question, but I don't see one. But thank you. How much more gun do you get from a Gucci AR versus a normal off-the-shelf AR?
Depends who a Gucci is. You can get better quality barrels. You can get better quality bolts. You can get better quality triggers. You can get sometimes additional strength in receivers. You can get ambi features. Um, it really depends on what you're looking for. Um, you can get bare bones rifles that can be just as reliable, but if you're a left-handed person, a standard rifle won't be as good for you as a Santan Tactical or a LWRC or a Radian that has fully ambi features. It depends on what you're looking for, but when you get better barrels, that's always better. You get a mid-length gas system, that's always better. Um, I guess it depends on what you're looking for, which is why when I do my personal builds, I pull from where I look at the best companies, those best components to build that rifle.
What do you think about Midwest Industries enhanced BCG?
Midwest Industries. I'm not familiar with that one. I haven't seen Midwest Industries enhanced BCG yet.
Do you have any experience with cryptic coding bolt carrier groups, and how good are they?
I tried. Those of you who've seen the bolt carriers 1, 2, and 3, where I had one was on enhanced carriers, one was on uh, carrier finishes, one was on 308s. When I did the enhanced finishes, I reached out to Cryptic to try to get some of their equipment to look at, and they told me no. So because of that, I've never had the opportunity to look at those. So I can't tell you what the quality of those is because I've never seen it. I did try, and they wouldn't send me any product to review. So again, I wish I could answer you, but I've never seen them. I've just seen the advertisements and such. I've never seen anybody use them as OEM products. I can tell you that.
For the same grain weight, what's the difference between 762 by 39 and 3 versus 300 Blackout?
Well, you're looking at a .308 diameter projectile versus .311. With a .308 diameter, you have a vast amount of bullets to go through. For as far as loading it, you have a lot of options. You also have a semi-spec chamber. Um, you do get just a little bit less power with the 300 Blackout than you do the 7.62 by 39. Overall, they are extremely comparable. Um, Especially if you like the AR platform. If you like the AR platform, you are far better off with the 300 Blackout than you are 760 by 39. 300 Blackout feeds in normal magazines, uses a normal bolt. You don't have the stack issues because you don't have as much of a taper on them as you do with the 760 by 39. Um, but again, overall, you do get a little bit more oomph out of the 760 by 39, but you don't get nearly the bullet selection. You don't get nearly the reliability in the AR platform.
What can you tell me about the Colt accurized rifle Car 3 H bar Elite?
Well, that was Colt's first attempt to get into a somewhat precision market. Basically, what Colt did was they got a 24-inch stainless steel barrel, non-chrome line, so it was designed for more of a precision accuracy. They did use a very nice aluminum handguard. It wasn't the lightest rifle. The only negative aspect to that particular rifle was they did use the 170 diameter hammer and trigger pins. They had a low mass hammer on it. They did have that, and supposedly a match trigger, which is only really a match finish. The trigger wasn't really that much better than anything else that was out there. And unfortunately, when that rifle was built, there was very few companies making anything in 170 diameter, or as far as the drop-in triggers. So the rifle never had the potential because I don't know if they were ever built with the 155 diameter hammer and trigger pins. I don't believe they ever were. I think they were discontinued before Colt switched over to that. There may have been some that were built that way. The overall rifle was rather nice, but with the incompatibility with really nice triggers, that hurt it quite a bit. Um, it wasn't a very popular seller. It was designed for a law enforcement market. It was designed more for a containment type situation. I don't remember, especially when I was there, I don't really remember too many of those ever being sold to it. The rifle did meet the assault weapon ban because it generally did have it had a regular stock, no bayonet lead, no threaded barrel, so it did meet the the ban requirements. Um, I never had the opportunity really to mess with one at length, and quite frankly, if I did, I only would want the upper. The lower I want to put on a regular lower where I could use my Geisley triggers to see how well that it was, how well that it shot with the barrel. Colt really wasn't known for really putting out what you would call match rifles. Their barrel lines, they really weren't set up for that. They were designed more for military grade rifles.
John on DonorBox, thank you, John. He says he liked your videos on the LMT piston ARs.
Oh, thank
Could
you.
you do a video about how DI versus piston works with a suppressor? I've come to the conclusion that both work well.
They do work well. The one big difference that you will see is the amount of gas that does come back in your face. Um, Again, shooting the MRP systems, I've shot, I have both. I mean, I have both barrels. If you were looking at a 14.5-inch barrel with the external piston, you get far less gas in your face with the external piston than you do the internal. I have to give it that, and that's even using the gas buster charging handles. You do see a difference between the two. Um, that's just the nature of the beast. You still get gas coming back at you because of the pressurization. You do get gas coming back at you through the internal part of the mechanism, but you just don't get the gas coming back at you going into the bolt carrier. So I definitely will say that the external piston is better for you when it comes to suppress use.
Thank you so much, Elliot. He left a donation. He said, basically, screw Google.
Oh, thank you.
On DonorBox, yeah, Google takes 30%. It's a lot, and it's ironic because They don't let you post a commission link to Brownells. So they cut us off at the knees
Mhm.
there, so we can't make commission money. They limit our ads, so we can't really make ad revenue. But they're totally fine taking y'all's 2A money, like to ask gun questions.
Yeah,
So
their ethics aren't that high when it comes to the money.
yeah, it's an interesting business model that they have going on there. Thoughts on the value of the WBPAKs, and do you think 1300 plus is overvalued?
No, that's actually about right. Yeah, I don't think that's far off at all for what that is.
Manuel on Donor Box, thank you, Manuel. He said he wanted to clarify his earlier comment. He has already assembled his barrel with an A2. He would like a rail that extends the length of the barrel, so that is why I'm considering cutting down my front sight post. So I'm wondering if simply reparkerizing the shaved sight post keeps it from rusting, and should I keep or toss the handguard cap afterwards?
If you're gonna remove it with it mounted, leave the handguard cap on there. Don't if you don't have to unpin it, don't. If you're just gonna grind it down, do that. Just get some regular old gun blue, because it's a metal part. And throw that on there. Throw some oil on it. After that, you'll be fine. That's all you got to do with it. Once you have the raw steel there, degrease it with a good degreaser or lighter fluid, and then get your perma blue. Your Birchwood KC perma blue works fine. Get that on there. You get the bluing in color, and then get some oil on there to keep it to so it won't rust. Then you're good to go. I really wouldn't recommend you removing the front side base if you don't have to, because again, once you pull those pins out, you've wilded them out a little bit. They can eventually work their way out. But yeah, absolutely, just a little bit of permanent blue on there, but make sure you clean it good before you put the permanent blue on there.
And if ever there's a time where, especially because, if you donated and your question isn't maybe, I could have screwed up the way it was read, or Chris didn't understand the interpretation behind it, you can always email me at hbartacci@smallarmsolutions.com. And my phone is right here the entire time. And you don't have to like donate again. We'll
I
just
could
get
never do these
a
Q&As
clear,
without her.
a
I could
clear
never do them.
answer. Because we had to do that last week with
Yeah.
a guy whose the question just wasn't, he didn't communicate it correctly, and that wasn't it. And he sent me an email, and he was even surprised that I was, right there to, answer it. But definitely just send me an email if something's not communicated right. Adnan on Donor Box, thank you so much, Adnan. About your upcoming collaborations with James Rupley for the second revision of the Vickers Guide
Mhm.
AR-15 Volume 2, could you, if possible, add a dedicated section in the book for Richard Swan of Arms Incorporated in regards to his contributions for the AR family of weapons and his pivotal role of the finalized M1913 rail, as well as the free float rail, and then possibly include others such as Mark Westrom of Armalite and his involvement with the mid-length gas system? While trying not to nitpick, I personally own the first edition of the Vickers Guide. I skimmed through the book, and there wasn't any mention to Richard Swan, as well as other companies that also contributed to the advancement of the AR platform were also barely mentioned. It mainly goes back to, quote, giving credit where credit is due.
This is an interesting balance, because the way that Rupley and Vickers want to do this, it's not a history book like Black Rifle 2 or like
Yeah.
how Black Rifle 3 is going to be.
Mhm.
What he's doing is more of the pictorial of showing things and then trying to hit highlights. For as far as getting into great details like that, is not generally the direction that they want to go. Um, Basically, I'm going to be introducing a lot of information to them, and then they're going to decide what they want to put in. And it really, when it comes to the historical things like that, that's not really what they're looking at. For instance, we were talking about the M4, for instance. If you look at volume 2, he didn't put there was not any information really on what the M4 was. Um, One of the things that what we're going to do is the M4 had to be introduced as its own family of weapons, separate from the M16. An M4 is not an M16. Colt had to do that so it wouldn't fall under the 68 licensing agreement. So what made the M4 its own family weapon. So now we're going to go in there. I'm going to give them the information so you can see what made that different. There will be some discussion of the 1913 rail because one of the most important things that has to go in Volume 2 is the C7A1 rifle from Canada. That was the world's first AR-15 with a flat top that predated the 1913 rail by at least 6 or 7 years. So we want to add that in there, even though that wasn't the 1913 rail, as part of that evolution. So we want to hit some of these highlights, but it's not meant to be a history book per se, which is why I don't think those things will go in there. There could be some mention in the 1913. I think what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going each section at a time and then trying to figure out what they do want to include. I would love to put Dick Swan in there. Um, One of the really hardest things about Uncle Dick was there's people out there who just didn't like him. They didn't like him because this guy went after his patents viciously. If you stole from him, the wrath of God came against you. And they didn't like that. Well, it never made sense to me because any of you who've ever created something and had somebody come in and steal it from you, it pisses you off. And more times than not in this industry or any industry, if you don't have the money to uh, defend your patents, people can just steal from you as long as they got bigger pockets than you. They can go right through you in court and they can steal from you, even though you're right. In the end, you don't have the money. Where Uncle Dick made more money on his patents and defending his patents than he ever did on what he sold. I'm going to try to get in as much as I can, but again, we have to look at what they want to do with it. And again, they don't want to do a history book. They're doing a pictorial of something that nobody else has ever done and ever gonna do again. Which is why I've been happy to be involved with both of these books because the way the photography was on these, the way they had access to all these things to bring you the full history, I can tell you it's never going to be done again, for sure. Because a lot of people who work with Vickers and Ripley won't let them back in again like Knights. There's a lot of people out there who were upset they didn't make more money off of this. So what they got from Knights they've gotten, and we got to try and first find some other things. We got to go, other places.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, what's important to remember is this is not Chris's book. He's just a contributing
Yeah.
person on it because why wouldn't you want him to contribute to the book? The man knows everything that there is to know about this rifle system. And his involvement is what's going to really add the kind of context that this book probably really desperately needs. And their books remind me of a coffee table book. I mean, they literally are the coffee table book of the gun guy. It's illustrations and all of that, whereas Black Rifle 2 is built around history and that kind of thing. Chris has a copy of Black Rifle 2 where he was showing our 16-year-old son the other day, and because Chris views history and the people that were involved in a very different way than maybe other people do, and
Yeah.
and how they paved the way for this gun's evolution. And so he has a copy of Black Rifle 2 that has everyone's signature
Who's
in it.
involved? Yeah.
And so like on those certain pages, you would have, Carl Lewis's signature, Mark Westrom's
Right.
signature,
All the engineers from Colt, the
all the
guys from
engineers from
Crane I dealt
Colt,
with,
stuff that's particular because for him
all people who
that's
helped me.
because for him that's history and that's important. So he's going to add some context to the book that's probably going to help, but it's never going to be a Chris Bartacci book. That's why you have to wait for Black Rifle 3, and that's why you have to get
It's
on this man and drive him nuts
definitely
to
different.
and get him pushed into the right direction to do it. Because I'm of course applying pressure as his wife, but it's all of you saying that you want it, you need it, and that's what's going to help him even more. Okay. Apparently we missed a question from Craig. Mark 12 Mod O, Mod 1, or Mod H? Or what would you build today for the same requirements? For example, Ultimate 77 grain Black Hills Ammo DMR rifle.
I would build exactly what Monty Leclerc puts out. And it's sort of sitting behind me to my right. You can see it behind me. Can't
Don't
bring
point
it out.
to it.
But that is his DMR rifle. The only thing I would do different on that is I would put I would have it set up for the OpSync suppressor. It's the proper barrel. It has one of Monty's handguards on it. The rifle that you see back there will do absolutely everything that the Mark 12 Mod O and Mod 1 will do in a better way. It's more durable. It's got the parts are better. It's evolutionized. The Mark 12 Mod O, they were great in their day, but there's been a lot of evolution since then. The rifle you see back there was also designed around the Mark 262 Mod 1 ammunition, just like the Mark 12 Mod O and 1 are. The H, you have the shorter barrel, so you have less. A little bit less range, and it was one of the things that this rifle was designed to do, was to give you the maximum range you could get out of the 5.56 with a 77 grain projectile. So the Mod H sort of defeats that with going with the shorter 16-inch barrel. So the 18-inch DMR rifle that Monty builds, that's where to go. And again, you guys can order those from him, and you can use you can get was it 5 or 10% off of that? She's the one that knows all that stuff. I don't know.
You should, well, that's why I like to do the outtakes when you have to say that,
Yeah.
because he's like, what? He's like, use our link. I was like, what link? What are you talking about? He's like, I don't know. Just tell me what to say. He's not good with that stuff. We have 3 separate codes for Centurion: 3% off complete rifles, 5% off uppers and lowers, and then 10% off everything else. So that means like stuff that's on their clearance page. I know he's adding stuff regularly to that, so you need to check that and stock that regularly, because I know they keep adding stuff to that. And then also that, I'm going to say it wrong again because I always do, the trigger that, oh my God, I guessed it right. The trigger that he worked on with Monty, that would also be 10% off.
That's a hammer, actually.
Okay, see, I was wrong. A hammer. I keep getting those confused.
Now, the rifle that you see back there, I also have one of Monty's Mark 12 Mod 1s that has all the original gear on it. And both of them shoot well, but the one you see behind me is a preferred rifle. It's lighter. It has more modern capabilities. It's just more of an evolved rifle.
I love Elliot because I mentioned coffee table book. He said a coffee table book that turns into a coffee table. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Kramer from Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Yeah, we both used to watch Seinfeld too. John on Donor Box. Thank you, John. I'm building a 12.5-inch mid-gas LMT. Is a carbine spring with an H buffer the proper weight?
It's going to depend, because LMT, they do overgas their systems because they have to. So everybody who likes to use the shit ammo, the Wolf and stuff that has the lower pressures will work. Now, depending on how that's gassed, you may need to go up to an H2. Once you shoot it with the ammunition that you're going to use, you check out your ejection pattern. If it's hitting at 1 o'clock, go to an H2. I wouldn't go to an H3 by no means, but I would go to the H2 would be the heaviest. It just depends on how the gas port is. If he's got it set up for a 5.56, and it's working properly with that, then you put 223, then you're getting lower performance. It just depends. Some of the LMT barrels that they put out, they're spec'd for 5.56 millimeter ammunition. Therefore, they'll have a harder time with some of this lighter 223 with lower port pressures. And some of them are more geared towards the commercial gas ports, where they're more open to work with some of this lower quality ammunition. Building a rifle for military use is so much easier than this commercial stuff, because, for instance, they go to the Estonian government. Okay, we're going to use a 62 grain bullet, and this is the specific round. They can build that rifle around that round. So they have the exact port pressures and everything. Then they can also make a gas. You can also make a gas valve if you want. So when you put a suppressor on it, you can gas it properly with a suppressor because you're using one round. Like working with a commercial market, it's a whole different ballgame, because you have this variety of ammunition out there that doesn't hold to any one spec. So trying to make one system work with all is quite difficult.
I love all the information you share. He has a question on SaaS. At what point during your career working in the industry did you decide to break away and run your own business?
Well, that's your question.
What helped you start, and what were your first steps?
That's you. That's actually a question for her.
They don't want to hear me. They want to hear you.
Oh no, you're the one that did it. So
basically, once after he left Colt, he then moved on to Otis. But by that point, we were still kind of doing a consulting business on the side, even while he was doing Colt, and he was writing articles in magazines and stuff. But the industry is a very volatile industry, and it always has a very high highs and very low lows. And they're always trying to eliminate the people on the payroll that are making the most to try to cut costs. And so after Otis eliminated him, because they were trying to downsize. They needed to get some of their higher paid people out, and they had immediately handed him a consulting contract and said, but we really just want to keep you on payroll, and we need you, and we need you consulting, we need you traveling, we need you. So we just don't want to give you benefits anymore, essentially. And I wanted to start our own business. I just felt like there was some security in doing it on our own and having our own armor schools, and doing his writing on the side, and really just, building something that he was proud of. We cashed in 401ks. My mother had passed away, and I was left some money, and I put that into the business. Everything we've done, we've worked really hard. I used to work weekends as a legal secretary, extra time so that he could write Black Rifle 2, and we had the money for him to write it. So it's just, it was something I wanted to do. He was probably more against it and told me that I was crazy and that it had no job security. And we were just had our fourth kid, I think. When we started, I think it was about 5 months after our fourth child.
Yeah, Colt laid me off when she was 8 months pregnant with our last daughter.
No, it was with Ava, wasn't it? Because then you went to work with Otis. It was with Ava.
Was it?
Yeah, and I have C-sections with all my
Okay.
kids, so I needed to have a C-section, and he was scared, how are we going to pay for major surgery, and he was kind of freaking out. And I'm just somebody who's like, I can deal with those kind of things, and just like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, Colt knew
Like,
she was
we're
8
gonna-
months pregnant,
we're
but
gonna
that
be
goes to
fine.
show you how companies are. They don't give a shit about your situations.
So I wanted my own company, and I wanted to do it on my own and build something together, and that's what we've done.
Yeah. No, she's better saying it than I am, because like I said, she was the one that sort of pushed for it.
He told me I was crazy. So it took some convincing, like most things do. Kind of like that JFK documentary that we did. That took a lot of convincing too. So I hope you guys enjoy that. But I hope that answered your question. Whatever happened to the Caracal piston AR? I have 2 SIG 516 Gen 2s. Aren't they similar?
You are going to, well, no, they're the Caracal is a step ahead. You are going to start seeing Caracal hitting the market again. Their facility is now in business in Idaho. They're starting to produce. So I would estimate over the next couple 3 months, you're going to start seeing these guns hit the market again, because their factory is up and running now.
Building an L119A1, stuck locating a Demaco pebble grain stock and pistol grip. Any ideas where these can be found in the U.S.?
Unfortunately, no. This stuff is so rare here in the States that my stuff I smuggled in from where the hell was it? Was it Denmark? Or was it Canada? I smuggled my stock and a couple of spare parts in from Denmark, as well as Canada, to build my L119A1. And even as perfect as mine is, the one thing it's missing is the proper front sight base, which I could never get in the United States. These parts are ultra rare. Occasionally, they get it. They may slip in, or somehow, I don't know. Keep an eye on gun broke. Occasionally, you may see some of my stuff on there, but like I said, I wish I knew how to find it myself.
John on DonorBox says, Chris write Black Rifle 3 and publish it through Headstamp Publishing. He is going to write Black Rifle 3, but we will have an update in the new year for that. We're going to make a video, and we will talk about everything that we've had in the works behind the scenes. But, essentially everybody's interested in purchasing Black Rifle 2, but they basically just want to own it and reprint it under their publishing house. And that's not something that we want to do. It's Chris's, it's his legacy. It's something that I'm proud that he did. I know that our 16-year-old son, as he's gotten older, is very proud of it. And I think he's probably one of the biggest advocates when it comes to writing the third one. I think he's very impressed with what his father's been able to do. And, that needs to stay in the family. So
my wife, we have to make sure that she gets to working on all this photography stuff, because she's got to write she has to do all the photography on the white background. So as soon as she masters that, then we can start bringing stuff in for her photograph.
I can do anything. I literally just did a 5-part documentary that's almost 2 hours long, using green screen for the first time.
I'm going to throw some guns at you, and you can start working on all that stuff.
Literally, he's going to throw some guns at me. Yeah, those are my first time using green screen. I actually thought it was pretty good for the first time. And in the first video you're going to see, it gets better too as we go. It also, because Chris didn't really understand what I was trying to do with JFK, and he didn't understand the whole concept with the green screen. So trying to get him to, he would want to like cut to a video, and I was like, no, 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 there's no cutting to a video. The video is going to play behind you. And that's what's going to make this cool. So as you talk, you're going to get to see in real time that video, and have you talk through it. So once he started to see after that, it got better. It got better. It got better. It got a little bit better. So you'll get to see the evolution too through the JFK series. But I can do anything. We have all new lights too. We bought all new lights for the green screen.
I think
and
you
for
guys are going to
filming.
be able to see, as we've evolved, how your donations have helped us evolve, and have helped us go,
We put
get better and
everything
better and
back
better.
in.
And you're seeing all that quality, that those changes, and how we're putting the money back into it.
I've seen a KC SR25 with a 14.5-inch barrel. In your opinion, what are you losing with a shorter barrel, or is it much different?
You're losing a lot. You consider with a 14-inch barrel how much powder that's left unburnt when that bullet hits the atmosphere. I don't think that there's much of a benefit in using a 308 when you go with a barrel that's shorter than 16 inches. In my opinion, 16 inches is the lowest that you would want to go to still be able to maintain the benefits of a 7.62 NATO. In my opinion, the ideal barrel length for a 308 is 18 inches. I think that is where you're with modern propellants, you're burning all your propellant, you're getting your accuracy. And you're not going to see much of a difference in accuracy or even distance between an 18 and a 20-inch barrel. And certainly not between, when you go further than that. When you go further than that, and you burn up all your powder, you're not gaining anything by a larger barrel. I would not recommend going. Now, I will say that I've got experience with the 13.5-inch barrels of LMTs. I had no problem. We had no problem hitting targets out to 200 yards with them. But I don't think you would see too much, past 300-400 yards with that short of a barrel. 18 inches is perfect. If you want to go with something that small, you're probably better off going with a 6.8 or a 6mm arc or something like that in a 14 or 16-inch barrel.
Michael says he's tuning in for marriage counseling reality TV. And then he said airing out grievances in public because he thinks Heather won't hit him. Well, guess who's not getting Whataburger now? What is it? Because of the doing photography? I guess that's what he's talking about. I think we work pretty well together. We spend a lot of time together too.
Yeah. So I drive her nuts. Spend too much time, maybe.
Yeah. Every day, it's like, where are we going to lunch?
But she still wonders, when she moves towards me and I flinch.
Oh, funny.
Signs of abuse.
Any idea when Caracal will produce rifles again? Waiting on my car 814. Where else can I get barrels with extractor guard that prevents blowouts towards the shooter?
Well, they have been. They've released some of the 814s recently. They're building. I mean, I just saw I got an email from Jeff Spalding not too long ago, sending a picture of them assembling lower receivers. I contact them. They are building this stuff right now. I don't know anybody outside of H&K and Caracal right now. They're really doing barrels with that guard in it. It's there's companies who probably do that. I may not know of, but H&K and Caracal are the main two companies that I know who do that.
I'm looking for a reliably, decently priced AR-15. Can you recommend it?
Aero Precision, Faxon. If you just did see the video I did on Faxon's, their new Sentry rifle, absolutely beautiful rifle. The Colt CR6920 for $1,000 is a good deal. It's a good rifle. There's a lot of rifles out there that they're in that price range that are really good, but Aero Precision, Faxon. Faxon, as I said, I'm really very fond of what they're doing. The Sentry rifle, I was very very pleased with.
I have a Centurion Arms Mark 11 with an 18-inch. Is it Criterion? 6.5 Creed barrel using a JP silent spring system, but it is short stroking. Should I change it to a lighter spring or adjust the weights first?
If it's short stroking, the first thing I would do is I would get rid of that JP buffer. I would put a standard in there, depending on what you've got. I would expect you probably have a 308 receiver extension on there that takes M4 buffers. I would go with an H3 and see if it's still doing it. After that point, you're starting now to look at a place where there's gas loss. I would try a different bolt carrier because if you're losing gas in your carrier key or your gas rings, that could cause that. Also, if you're losing gas in your front sight base, but I would really take a look at your buffer system first to start diagnosing that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that JP one. Put a regular, normal spring in there with a regular weight buffer. H3 is the one you want to be going with.
Bruce says that he believes that I can do anything. He believes me, and he says that you're a lucky man.
Absolutely.
Well, see, here's the thing. What he does is because he's dreading. He knows what it takes to write these books and what it's going to be. So I think it's I'm like the scapegoat right now for him to be like, oh, well, see, you're like, I know you. I know he's like, oh, well, photography is what's holding us back.
Everybody
I'm just
always
waiting to see about photography, and I'm like, no.
Everybody always says writing one book is
out.
easy. It's writing a second book that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and he doesn't have, Blake over at Collector Grade anymore.
That's true.
Blake was the biggest advocate for it, and Chris started writing it a long time ago when Blake was still alive because Blake would be on him.
Blake was so awesome to work with.
When is it going to be ready? When are you doing this? Yeah.
Well, at the all fair at the time, we needed money that was coming in now to support our family. When you're doing a book, you're looking at any kind of profits for 3 years down the road of the time that it takes you to write the thing. So there really wasn't an option at that point to take time away from doing things that are going to bring in money, immediately versus 2-3 years down the road.
It's a cycle.
It is.
You're always waiting for things to calm down and money to even itself out, but it never does. You just got to do it. And to waste your knowledge and what you know and putting it, pen to paper and actually putting it out for people, you can't waste that.
I'm working on it. We are working on it.
What do you think of Trigicon's new CCOG?
Not been able to get my hands on one to test it yet. I haven't been able to get any of Trigicon's new products in about 4 years. I don't have a contact that's a rep there to be able to get some of the stuff to look at. I would love to take a look at it, and then I can give you some more information on it.
What do you think about Enraged TV and Forgotten Weapons? What would Stoner do series?
Don't know. I haven't watched it. I really don't watch a lot of other content creators, to be honest with you. I do watch Michiko. I learn from Michiko every time he puts something out.
He's always amazed by him.
I do watch Military Arms channel. There's a couple of other ones I watch, but the only ones I really watch on a regular basis is really Military Arms channel and Michiko.
There's a few that he used to watch, but I'm not going to say who. But they're more commercially based at this point, where it's basically the videos have become a commercial. I get offered that all the time. I just have no interest in making a commercial. Because then what's the point? I'm not sharing, your knowledge. I'm, trying to make money off some bullshit product. Thinking about picking up an older Colt AR-15A4. Is it a solid rifle?
Yes, they are. Again, the Colt AR-15A4s, when they put them out and they actually said AR-15A4 on them, they were excellent rifles, but Colt, they weren't concerned about making a true M16A4 clone. For instance, you're not going to have the original. The M16A4 has rifle upper receiver and rifle feed ramps. What you're going to get with the AR-15A4 is M4 feed ramps with an M4 upper receiver. So, does it make a mechanical difference? No. But if you're looking for an exact M16A4 reproduction, that's not it. Also, with the Colt rifles, you may or may not have an F-mark front sight base. So there's a couple of the little details that you may or may not have. I'm getting a rifle in probably within the next week or so. It's going to be a Wind and Weaponry, their M16A4. I've seen them before, and they seem to be like they're a really excellent M16A4 clone. So we'll be reporting on that one. But no, there are some differences.
Have you seen Colt AR-15 A2s with LST serial number prefixes?
LST would be a law enforcement prefix. AR-15A2s would always have an SP on them. Once you get into the new prefixes, that's when you start getting into Colt's manufacturing LE series. I don't recall offhand, but if you go into Black Rifle 2, my book, and you look in the back, you will see a whole bunch of codes that will tell you what that one actually is. I can't recall offhand which one that would be, but that's when you were getting into the the post AR-15s, when you get into the sporters and so forth, and LE series.
Thoughts on new Angstat Arms MDP-9?
I was actually reading about them the other day. I'm going to try to reach out to them and see about getting one of T&E. I have not had any personal use with them yet.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. You will not see us again for a couple weeks. I will be taking off for Thanksgiving next week. He doesn't like it when I don't work. I always say it at this time of year. This is when he's like, oh.
Listen, we really do enjoy the Q&As. We enjoy the interaction and such. So I actually do look very forward to doing these.
Yeah, but Mama needs a break.
I know.
I've literally been editing JFK every night until 11. I think, and Carrie asked me earlier, I never even got to answer. He was asking me what vintage I was drinking. It's water. Because if I drink anything, I'll probably fall asleep at the desk. I've been very tired from editing.
Well, we really hope you guys enjoy the JFK series. I'm not sure she can tell you what the release dates are and all those, but that's accumulation.
Saturday is part 1. Saturday the 20th is going to be part 1 at 9 a.m. Central Time. Tuesday is going to be part 2. Like I said, on Thanksgiving, you're going to have, we always do like a holiday Black Friday shopping, the tactical man's shopping list. So that'll be up on Thanksgiving. It's very short and sweet, but if you need to escape your family, that'll be there. And then on Saturday, we will have part 3 of the JFK series. So you're getting like 3 or 4 videos next week, and then into the next week after that, then you'll get the other 2 parts. And we do have the Python too. It is here. New Colt 2020 Python.
Hopefully we'll be able to pick it up this weekend.
Thank you so much to John who sent it over, and that'll be first up when we are back after.
Hopefully on Monday we'll be in the range. We'll be able to do our test firing on that one.
So he's working next week because he'll still be. I'll be trying to get ready for Thanksgiving, and he'll be preparing.
By the way, Carrie, I did see your question on there about what was going into the book. I will be looking at everything, but the MCX isn't an AR-15, XCR isn't an AR-15, ACR isn't an AR-15. So you won't be seeing anything going into the Vickers part 2. That's not an actual AR-15. Those guns aren't. So aim low.
God. That was calling mean.
What?
He's terrible. Okay, guys. I hope you guys have a good holiday. Happy Thanksgiving from ours to yours. What do you want to
And happy Thanksgiving, Carrier.
He's ready for his turkey.
Yep, he is too. Have a good night. Have a happy holiday.